Diana and I have been friends for 20 plus years, and I consider her not only one of the most talented, smart, gracious, elegant women I've ever known, but also a very dear friend. And recently we made fudge together. She makes the most divine fudge, I have to tell you. And it was really such a pleasure working with her in her kitchen. She opened her kitchen, she opened her heart, and she has been such an inspiration to me. Join me in welcoming Diana Wentworth.
Beautiful Victoria, thank you so much. Wow, look at this room. I'm not used to talking to a room full of people who are standing up and who have had a long day already. Usually I'm speaking to people who are having breakfast or lunch, and I talk a lot longer. But I get to have 20 minutes or so with you to talk about something that's so important. In fact, the most important thing you have in your life is your heart. And a way that we can kind of leave the activities of the day behind us and become very present is something I've learned in my 70 years of just taking a moment to ask yourself a really important question. It just kind of brings you into the present moment and helps you focus. So my question for you is, what if? This is a question I live in all the time. I was married for 25 years to my late husband and 24 years almost to my current husband. He claims to be my late husband. He says, Paul was my early husband. And in my book, Send Me Someone, it was the story of how Paul promised to send me someone. He said he didn't want me to be alone. And so when I get really mad at Ted, I said, I'm going to write a sequel, and it's called Send Me Someone Else. We're going to be talking today about all levels of the heart. And let's talk first about the physical heart, because that's what the American Heart Association does so well. They tell us all the things that we need to know about what it feels like to have a heart attack, what the symptoms are. And they focus on the physical heart. And nothing represents it better than, I love this video that the American Heart Association made. So can we start this right now? It'll run just a couple minutes, and it is really important.
I think you're having a heart attack. the jaw, dizziness, shortness of breath, muscle pain, achiness, this terrible pressure in my chest. Oh, really? They can be heard how long? 2 minutes. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of my heart, and I tell the women in my life to do the same.
Sounds great, by the way.
That's nice, sweetie, but that's not my heart. That is. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Isn't that amazing? Can you relate? That's so relatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, we wouldn't want the emergency people to show up if the house is tight. It's awful. After I had my heart attack in 2009, I got really interested in the heart, and I began studying it. And I learned on the American Heart Association website a lot about the heart. Do you know that your heart will beat about 2.5 billion times in your lifetime? And that it will pump 1 million barrels of blood? But it was the third thing I found out that gave me a real aha moment. And AHA stands for the American Heart Association. Do you know that if all of the veins and capillaries in your circulatory system were connected end to end, they would go 60,000 miles, and that's 2.5 times around the Earth.
Wow.
A virtual red thread that could go around the Earth 2.5 times. And they used that word, red thread. And I began thinking about that, and then I remembered that there were all these wonderful legends around the world from many different cultures about the red thread. In China, they believe that when we're born, that we're connected by an invisible red thread to everybody who we are destined to meet in our life. I love that. I actually do believe that. And in India, for instance, they take a red thread and they tie knots in it and they put on the Rudraksh beads and they wear them and they use them as a symbol of prayer. And in many countries, they use red as around the wrist. It's part of Judaism, of the Kabbalah. I mean, almost every culture has a red thread meaning. The Inuit culture believes that there's a red thread that puts together the meaning in our lives. And in China, you know, red is the most auspicious color. And people in Japan, do they wear a red wedding gown? I think they do. I mean, it just goes on and on. I began thinking about this. And then a book came out called Red Thread Thinking. And red thread thinking is where all these different pieces all of a sudden coalesce and you have a new kind of idea. It's like a breakthrough kind of thought. And I began thinking about that, and it kept going deeper and deeper. And I just really wanted to stick with the red thread story as I was exploring my own life, looking back on it at this age, and started following the threads. Rumi says that if you follow the thread of what you truly love, it will not lead you astray. And I've always found that to be true. Then, the beautiful Victoria Collins called me one day and said, I want you to be the honorary chair of the Go Red for Luncheon, Go Red for Women Luncheon this year. And I thought, oh, and it was almost instantly that I had the idea for a book called Love Your Heart, Follow the Red Thread to a Heart-Centered Life. And I knew I would write it in time for the luncheon and that it would be in all the goodie bags. So that was a great motivation. It was 5 months from start to finish on the book. And it's the first book I've ever self-published. All the other 9 books have been published by publishers. And it's so great because I can keep the price really down and get it out to lots and lots of people. So that means the world to me. In the book, I took some of the principles of the Heart Association and then took them more deeply into the other two parts of our heart space, which includes our emotional heart and our spiritual heart. So in chapter 1, it's find out who you are. And the Heart Association wants you to find out who you are physically and what is your family history of heart disease and what are your numbers, your cholesterol, you know, all of these things, and be very aware of that so that you're getting health checkups and you're really monitoring your health. And then I took it a little deeper in find out who you really are. What a great idea. And I got to thinking, you know, we don't spend much time thinking about our core values and even analyzing or asking ourselves what our core values are. And I have an exercise in the book, which is make a list of the people that you admire most in the world. And just look at this list, study this list, and then begin to list the qualities of those individual people. And I was really excited to see out of the 10 people I chose, 9 of them were women. And I began to find the thread of commonality between these women. Most of them had a pattern of reinvention. They would take adverse circumstances and make something fabulous out of it. It's not just making lemonade out of lemons, but they would reinvent themselves by what my best friend calls, in the book, The Path of the Pearl. Her name is Mary Olson Kelly, and she has a pearl store, and she's been involved with pearls. And she wrote this amazing book which talks about how the pearl oyster takes something that's an irritant, something that is an intruder into this life, and it turns it into something of great beauty. And her husband says, whenever things are going awry in their life, whenever they're having these huge problems that we all have from time to time, he says, must be a pearl in the making. So that's something that I've done in my life, because believe me, having lived this long, I have had real problems. My first husband passed of throat cancer. When we were first married, we went through incredible chaos financially and dropped out, moved to Mexico. I mean, all of these things that we've been through made me a much more aware human. And they've all had their gifts. And so that's part of my red thread. And that's part of discovering who I was. So I recommend that you really make a list of people you admire the most in the world. Make a list of the qualities that spark you, and then you'll learn so much about yourself. In chapter 2, the American Heart Association says exercise. But do we do it? No. We're like Garfield the cat. We want to be on the couch and just lie there until the thought goes away. But it's called Rediscover Play. And do you remember when you were 5 years old, the games that you would invent for yourselves, especially if you were all alone? I was a short order cook. I would be the waitress. I mean, I thought waitresses were angels. Or I just thought they were amazing. They would bring you anything you want. I had no idea that we paid for the food in the restaurant. And so when people said, what do you want to be when you grow up, Diane? I said, well, either a movie star or a waitress. And you better be careful what you wish for, because Carol here, who was our assistant, when Paul and I would travel around the world teaching cooking, she would tell you, yes, we were movie star waitresses. And that all came true. So what I did, after my heart attack, I decided that I would get out and walk every morning. And I've been thinking about what I love to do and how I could make it more interesting. And I remember that when I was a kid, I loved to jump rope. And what I loved about jump roping was that it was kind of a collaborative thing. I had been sent away to boarding school when I was 7, all by myself. And so I was a rather lonely child. But with jump rope, you know, people would come and play with you, and you know, and they had all these wonderful jump rope rhymes. And I loved these rhymes. I mean, they would go through my mind at night, and I memorized them. And then I ran across a poem called Jump Rope Rhyme that's new. And I loved the thread that ran through it because there's a metaphor about, with the ocean, that we think we're all separate, but when you think of an ocean, and we're separate waves, but we're still the ocean. And it uses that metaphor. And I learned a lot of poems by heart, so I'll do my best to remember this one. It starts with the words Tat Vam Asi. Those are Sanskrit words that mean thou art that, or that everything we're looking at is us. The quantum physics are proving right now that on a subatomic level we are really, truly all connected. And so this poem addresses that. Tat Vam Asi, thou art that. That leaf, that tree, that cow, that cat, that moon, that sun, that you, that I, for all are one. I think this I is only me. A drip, a drop, but not the sea. Yet when I wake from all these streams, then like a snake, I'll shed what seems, this mask, this skin, this ball and chain. I will begin to fall like rain. The sweet deep sea, Tat Vam Asi. So I began to memorize these poems as I would do my walking, and that became the exercise. And we have hills, and it turns out to be the perfect exercise for me. I also talk about different types of yoga. There's a new restorative yoga that is absolutely fantastic for relieving your stress, because when you do restorative yoga, you're actually producing less cortisone than when you're asleep, because you're not having dreams. So I got certified as a restorative yoga teacher recently. And the book is full of all these little tips. Then one other chapter is on nourishing body and soul. They say to eat less cholesterol and all this. And then we saw a film called Forks Over Knives. Have you seen that? Oh, that's a powerful film. You can't watch that film and not have your life changed forever. And it's really, they did tests on these people who were severely, had heart disease and diabetes and all of this, and they put them in a 13-week program, and it was a vegan program. But the changes in these people was just remarkable. I mean, truly, this one man looked like he had been on death's door, and he was totally transformed. So I really got excited about that. And the kind of cooking I do now, in fact, the chef who is the best known in the world right now, considered the top chef in the world, is in Copenhagen. And he specializes in these strange foods that he goes out and searches in the woods for. And he uses mostly vegetables and does them in the most imaginative ways. So there's a lot happening in the food world. And I think it's very important to be really conscious about what we're doing when we cook, that we're cooking for people that we love and that we put our heart's energy into it. People know me for my fudge, as Victoria mentioned, and it's called Diana's Divine Fudge, because I actually do stir in poetry and blessings, and I think about the people that I'm cooking for and wish them well. And I believe that that energy is truly in the food that we prepare. So I'm just so grateful that the American Heart Association is doing what they're doing with the COVID for Women movement. They're really getting the word out there. And there are so many medical breakthroughs that are taking place. I don't know if Dr. Malik made it here tonight, but she said Dr. Malik is doing an amazing amount of research in women's health. And the heart, a woman's heart, is simply different than a man's heart. And women are so much more sensitive to side effects from statins and from the other drugs that they gave me. I could not tolerate them at all. And I began to realize that the only way I can really live well is to make those lifestyle changes that I know to make. You know, we know to make certain changes. And so I thought, let's figure out a way to make this all fun. And so she is also telling us the other day at a Heart Association meeting that the actual catheters that go into the heart of women is smaller, needs to be smaller than the men's. And yet the hospitals don't have the women's size yet because they don't have the research yet that says they need to have it. So this is the kind of research that the Heart Association is funding, and it's very important that this happens so that medical breakthroughs can really happen. And there are three medical breakthroughs that are very important here tonight that I want to tell you about. Number one, I had my heart attack on September 22nd, 2009. Ted and I were just going out for our walk around Balboa Island, and I felt a lot of pressure right here. I mean, it was the classic pressure right here. And Ted said, I'm giving you an antacid, and if it's not gone in 5 minutes, we're going to home. Which we did. They got me right into surgery. They put in 3 long stents. I was in the hospital 36 hours. I still had my makeup on. The nurse came in and says, where's the patient? It was that fabulous because of the research funded by the American Heart Association. It's just amazing. Another medical breakthrough. 2 days ago, you wouldn't know to look at me, maybe to hear me with my voice, but you wouldn't know to look at me that I actually got off a plane and had a perforated eardrum it was agonizing, from a sinus infection that I had when I got on the plane, and I just didn't know to take nose spray on the plane. And now they have these 2 antibiotics they put together that permeate cartilage. So because of that, I'm here tonight. That was 48 hours ago. Right now. That's amazing. And the last one I want to tell you about is a beautiful young woman named Alexandra. Where are you?
Yes.
There's Alexandra. There she is. I was so lucky to be in the room stuffing the goodie bags at the Susan Samueli Women's Wellness Day event. And Alexandra was there. She was seating about 2 seats down from me. And her phone rang, and she had been awaiting a long time the right kidney for her to have a transplant. She'd been undergoing all sorts of, agonizing treatments for a long, long time. And they had just the right match. They matched on all levels. We were all in tears. And I just want to tell you that about 4 months ago, was it? When was it? 5 months ago.
2 months tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
2 months.
This is her first outing. So she came here tonight. I just think that's so great. Yeah, I just think it's so great. She's a beautiful young woman, and she looks completely different with this new kidney. She's doing great. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. So I just am so honored that you were here tonight. And I'm just so honored that the American Heart Association is letting me go out and be a spokesperson for them. And if you have groups that you'd like me to come and speak to, I'll be there for free. All you have to do is invite me. I want to get the word out as much as I can, and it just will do my heart good to do that. So I want you to always, always love your heart. Will you do that? Okay, thank you. I also want to mention the books. My beautiful colleague, Melinda Dewey, is here. She'll be over there helping with the sale of the books. My darling husband, Ted. Can you just say hello? 24 years ago yesterday, at a picnic, I shot him with a squirt gun. And that was it. He was the first man I dated after Paul passed away. And we were married within 8 months of when my husband died. So if you talk to him, you'll see why that is. Melinda also has a list there for you to sign up. It's an email list that if you would like to be notified when our new teleseminar takes place. It's a Love Your Heart teleseminar that we can have 7 weeks together on the computer and on the phone together. about loving your heart. The books are on very special sale today. It's the end of the first printing, and it'll be about a couple months before I have the next printing. But it's $10 for one, $15 for two, and because of my culinary career, you can have a baker's dozen, which is $13 for $100. And some of the proceeds go to the American Heart Association. I'd love it if you'd support that. And that's it. Thank you.
Fabulous. And again, I do recommend the book. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much, Diana. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And stay, mingle, eat, drink, have a good time, and talk with Diana. Thank you.
Wentworth's lecture this evening, and I had met her in yoga, and it was very interesting because there was 25 people in the class, and she came up to me, the one person that was there that had a connection with her, which she did not know, and handed me her book and said, I would like you to read this, it's my new book. And I said, I would love to. And I read it on the trip to New York. I came back and bumped into her and told her I loved her book. She's an extraordinary woman. She's smart, she's classy, she's intelligent, she's warm and loving. She's the type of woman that there should be a lot more of in this world. And I got to tell everyone, or anyone, if they don't know Diane Wentworth, they're missing out. I would say about a year and a half, 2 years ago at yoga. I was taking yoga classes and she walked in and I noticed her. She's a very attractive, elegant woman, and I quite a few times saw her in class, and every time she came in, she was just so ladylike and so elegant, and something about her, you notice her. She's a woman that you notice. Then I heard that she was giving a lecture on the heart. And actually, my sister read a book that she wrote, and we were sitting on an airplane, and she kept telling me, tweaking my interest on what she wrote about. And tonight, listening to her talk on the heart, she knows her stuff. She's someone to watch. She's someone to listen to. She definitely got my attention now more on myself and to check my heart a little bit closer. I really enjoyed her. She's wonderful. She's remarkable.
Diana for 35 years. I was impressed by her when I went to one of her cooking classes at the Balboa Bay Club when she had a cooking instruction class, and I thought, oh my God, I think I'm having an out-of-body experience. This is just an amazing woman, and she was with her husband, and I thought, my God, I've got to know more about them. And I followed them in 2 days up to Beverly Hills when they had their cooking school with all the movie stars that would go there. And I showed up and I thought, my God, is this really happening to me? And at that particular day, I was chosen to be their assistant to travel all over the world with them and promoting their cookbooks. So as you can see, I've always been impressed by Diana. And now, after all these years, we are still connected. And we still talk and belong to the same groups of women. And she is such an amazing woman. She's got to be one of the best women I've ever met. And I hope to continue our friendship for many years.
I'm Dr. Adrienne Windsor. I was program director of the Inside Edge for 9.5 years. I booked 475 speakers, and part of my great joy at the Inside Edge was coming to know Diana, who founded the Inside Edge, having her come to some of our meetings, having her come as our speaker. I think it is so wonderful and heartwarming that she is now doing this work for the American Heart Association, and I totally commend her and recommend her to the world for her benevolent efforts.
I'm Victoria Collins, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Diana for, 20 plus years. And over the years, I have seen her do some absolutely amazing things, not only in what she's written, which is, she has done best-selling books and really brought so many wonderful stories to the pages and to her friends and to her audience. And so I had the pleasure of introducing her this evening, and she is just an absolutely great speaker. She started the Inside Edge, and I think that was 27 years ago. That's a group of professionals who get together and have very inspirational both business topics, the arts, psychology, health, wonderful topics. And she started that and is still going on. She's just a terrific person in so many ways, so genuine, so real, so warm, and she has the most wonderful heart. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ted Wentworth, and Diana Wentworth is my fun and fabulous wife. I want you to know that I'm so glad that the American Heart Association has done the work that they have done, because I still have my wife. If it wasn't for what they had accomplished, we would have lost her that night that I took her to the hospital. We were very lucky. For her to have been through that so beautifully and then leave the hospital after 36 hours. We were on a plane for Turkey 11 days later, and we climbed all around the hills of Ephesus, had a wonderful time, and came back wonderful. Now, how can you explain that? Here's a lady that I almost lost, and suddenly a lady that could be traveling in 11 days without any indication that anything had been a problem. Well, let's see. What else do I want to tell you other than she's brilliant, and she's graceful, and she's elegant from the inside out. We've been together for 24 years, and she just out-nices me when I'm trying to out-nice her. It's just a very fun relationship that we have. Well, thank you for listening.
Hi, Diana Von Wellernitz here, and this is my amazing husband, Ted. I call him Teddy Bear. And he's written 2 books. He wrote Build a Better Spouse Trap, Dating Strategy for Men Who Have Lost a Love, and his latest book is The Enlightenment Code. And he speaks all over the place. He works with 12-step groups, and he's the best husband who ever lived. You know, he just, when I had my heart attack in '09, he knew to get me to the hospital right away, and he supported me in writing my book, Love Your Heart, Follow the Red Thread to a Heart-Centered Life, and he's just there for me in every way. I'm so grateful for him.
We got her to the hospital so fast that we were in Ephesus climbing hills 11 days later.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? If we had been on that cruise ship when I had the heart attack, I wouldn't be telling you guys about this right now. So, but because of him, we got to the hospital in time. It's really important to know what the signs are and to get to the hospital.
Well, Diana has a book out, and her book is such an easy read. Can you imagine the science that goes into the work that the American Heart Association does? And that sort of overlooks the heart space that the heart occupies, where all the love is, and all of the feelings are, and all the intuition is. Well, Diana wrote a book that includes that. So you have not only the heart, but the heart space and the red thread. And if you haven't read about the red thread, that's a 60,000-mile drama.
Yes, you'll have to read the book to find it.